Howdy there, partners. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show, presented by Yahoo. I'm Eric Lindquist, and this is my friend over here, Mr. Matt LaMarca. He's going to be the one giving you all the hard-hitting analysis. Let's get to it, my dude. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm happy that it seems like we even changed up the intro show song to fit your outfit. It was very Western vibe. If Pancho Villa was a Vikings fan, that's what he would look like, in my opinion. So just excited to get it done. Feel underdressed now, but what are you going to do?
You should, partner. But you know what? This town's big enough for the two of us. So we're going to get ourselves on through lock here. We're going to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as you're getting in here, so you know when all the content here at Awesemo is going live. All right, let's get ourselves to it. Starting with the news on the day. Okay, and I'm back. Here we are. Hello. Hi. There I am. Me and my poncho. Let's go. Skull, baby. Tonight, big game. Super excited. Halloween night. This is the only time on planet Earth that this outfit is acceptable. Halloween and the Vikings play.
So it's you're 2 for 2 there, like it is. It's like a lunar eclipse, only comes around every so often.
All right. Well, let's get ourselves to it. What is some of the big news that you're tracking here for the day, Mr. LaMarca?
Well, we don't have a ton that we're still monitoring. The big one, of course, Chris Middleton getting ruled out with an illness. The Bucks are already shorthanded. They don't have Drew Holiday. They don't have Brooke Lopez. Semi Ojeleye still out. So they have tons of minutes available, tons of usage available. Cade Cunningham getting the night off after making his debut yesterday. And then the Lakers. Of course, we have to deal with the Lakers late night injury hammer, full of information. You've got LeBron questionable, AD probable, and then a bunch of other players, Wayne Ellington, Dwight Howard also questionable. But the big one is LeBron. If LeBron's out, we know how to approach this team, right? We fire up Davis. We fire up Russell Westbrook. If he's in, that's when things get weird. And of course, we won't know until after the slate is locked, which always makes things fun. That's how everyone wants to spend their Halloween evening, monitoring late swap Laker news.
Well, or you just build it into your lineup. So we were talking a little bit before the show, and I think the big choice you have to make on this slate is just deciding, not just having Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, but if you're going to find any pivots whatsoever to some of this value you have on the top end between Jordan Nwora, Daniel Tice, Josh Jackson, a massive piece of value, specifically Nwora and Jackson, you're going to find it in Malik Monk. You're going to find it in Kent Bazemore. And I think figuring out if you want to go overweight, which I'm planning to do, because again, you basically are playing to finish first. And I feel like if the slate started now where, every single game started at 4 p.m. and we got the news that LeBron was out, how much Bazemore would you want compared to the field? How much Malik Monk would you want compared to the field? So for me on DraftKings and FanDuel, that's really kind of the decision point. And I'm upping some exposure to Houston as a result, getting myself some more Jalen Green, getting myself some more Eric Gordon. Jayshawn Tate is at the right position to be able to kind of make that move. But for me, it's really just taking some shots on some of this unowned value from the Lakers side and hoping that you do get the news that he's ruled out. And in the event that he's ruled in, having enough roster spots to still be able to kind of construct it accordingly. But what do you kind of think about that strategy?
Yeah, that definitely seems sharp for tournaments. In a vacuum, the Bucks chalk feels safer, right?
Right.
But that's going to make the Bucks chalk significantly higher owned. So giving yourself some flexibility to get on some potential values for the Lakers does make some sense. That said, I still want plenty of Milwaukee tonight.
Yeah, people saying LeBron won't sit again. I have no idea if he will sit or not. It's just knowing that the projection between Kent Bazemore and Malik Monk and somebody like Jordan Nwora at 7 points, 8 points, you're giving up a lot there, but you're reducing a ton of ownership in the event that you are able to get that news and have it break your way, where people can't necessarily have the roster spots available. So you can go into Fantasy Cruncher. You can boost them for any lineup that has LeBron appear or not appear, and it kind of takes care of it for you. So that's another great addition to Awesemo Plus. We'll talk about that later, but let's get to it. We go position by position on this show here on the Live Before Lock show. I know you're all sweating football, but we're going to turn on our football or our basketball minds here and get going at the top end of point guard. We got a super chat here that was from Fresno. From _Fresno. Thank you so much. He said, scariest pay up DK, big Saxy, and that was a $4.20 super chat. I'm guessing that's supposed to be ironic, but for me, the scariest one at the point guard position will be James Harden. This game against Detroit, it doesn't look like in a vacuum it's going to be close. He's somebody who just went off, finally got to the line 19 times, which is a massive outlier compared to what he's put up this entire season. And now you're looking at him at 24%, and I don't want to play him. Do you?
No, I'm with you 100%. Like, the usage rate was not all that higher, right? You know, he was still 28.6%. That's a fine number, but it's not a James Harden, 10K price tag type number. Mm-hmm. The big difference was, like you said, he got to the line 19 times. He was averaging 3 free throws per game before that. So, do you think he's going to get back to 19? Certainly not. Like, even if he gets to 7 or 8, that would be a nice increase from what he's shown us early in the year. And that still leaves us well behind what he did last game, what he didn't even smash. If you had a 19 free throw attempt game from James Harden in the past, you would expect 70 DraftKings points. He didn't even crack 60. So I just don't see the ceiling with him right now. I'm fine with fading him.
I'm waiting for the price to kind of correct itself. This is a 4-game slate, so I'm not going to have 0. I'm not going to say, hey, full fade on 35% on FanDuel, on 25% on DK. I think that both of them are scary to say I'm going to have 0, but I can tell you right now, I'll be half. I'll be kind of just capping it at half the field and being just fine with it. I feel pretty comfortable with it. We don't know how this LeBron James news is going to break, but I mean, Russell Westbrook at 9,400 with no LeBron on the floor. That sounds a little bit more enticing to me. I think the roster ship's already there for him. But then Damian Lillard, it's kind of interesting to talk about him too, considering that game is tipping right away. You've got Charlotte and Portland. You've got Milwaukee, Utah in that early window starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And Damian Lillard, 9,400. I mean, he could definitely blow up this slate, but with CJ McCollum there, we have not even seen, you want to talk about no ceiling. He hasn't exceeded 47 DraftKings points this entire season, and he's garnering quite a bit of rostership. How do you kind of analyze him compared to the rest of the top end of point guard?
Yeah, I'm not scared of Damian Lillard's poor performances to start the year. He hasn't made any shots, right? He started to make some shots in his last game. He was 5 for 7 from 3. But I feel pretty comfortable that I know who Damian Lillard is. He's going to turn things on eventually. And this matchup versus Charlotte is a potential smash spot, right? They're bottom 5 in defensive efficiency to start the year. Portland leads the slate in implied team total despite being on the road. So I think that this is a good spot to sort of, I don't want to say buy low, but his price has come down almost $1,000 from its peak on DraftKings. So I think that Lillard is somebody that I will be overweight on tonight.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time with it just because I do want to get to more Russell Westbrook. Just again, I'm just going to be playing the full LeBron is out narrative, even though I'm not particularly confident in it one way or another. I would say the thing that makes me maybe closer to like 55% he sits is this game's against Houston. You got to think that the Lakers with Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook on the floor can once again handle Houston, but I say that knowing full well they just got done losing to OKC. So who really knows? It's kind of an interesting spot for me, but a lot of my point guard spots where I'm spending up is going to be Russell Westbrook, and I'm just fine with that, especially on DK, where he's the lowest rostered out of all 3 of them, and we know his triple-double upside. It's every single time he touches the floor, but if you want to play Dame, no problem with it whatsoever. I'm probably just going to be doing something else there. LaMelo Ball, that's kind of a tough one. Donovan Mitchell as well. Talk to me about everybody else there in the top end.
Yeah, I think that Westbrook and Lillard stand out as the 2 guys. I mean, you can play some LaMelo if you're feeling frisky, but Rozier being back doesn't particularly bode well for him. I think that this is a spot where you want to pay up or you want to take some of these more mid-range type options. There are some appealing guys who are in that 6K range on DraftKings. I would rather go with them than with LaMelo at 78. Oh, we lost them.
I'm back. Okay, so I got these Apple headphones from 2007 from my fiance just to try to be able to wear the hat with it. We're going to sacrifice the hat in sake of the show because now I can hear you all better, and this is what I'm used to. You want to stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. That's what I was told when I was a kid. So we're going to keep going. I heard nothing you said, but I know it was glorious. Did it have to do with LaMelo Ball?
Yeah, I don't like him. I'm not playing him with Terry Rozier back. I think you either pay up or you go down.
There we go. That is the correct analysis. But he's intriguing just because, there's going to be no roster shift going his direction. But even if you're going to be rostering a bunch of Milwaukee pieces, the one guy up on the top at 9K, Donovan Mitchell, I thought he was on his way to a decent enough game. 42.6% usage in their loss to Chicago last night. That is a gigantic number. 9 for 27 here. They're 4.5-point favorites still in this spot, but Donovan Mitchell, somebody that under 10%, I think pairing, just if you're going to have a ton of Milwaukee exposure, which I think we all are, I'm going to give him a little bit of a boost. I doubt that he's going to be sub 10%, but he's not going to project well. Don't get me wrong. He's going to project awfully, but I'm still going to have a little bit just because of, the ability for him to spike an upside. And if you have a bunch of Milwaukee and that game blows out, you're in trouble as it is anyway. So just throwing him into the equation, but nobody's going to be projecting well now. From the Utah side for sure. Kind of anybody else that's really sticking out to you at point guard. We've got Kevin Porter Jr., who I love. I want to get to a ton of him simply because it's in that late night hammer, gives me a little bit more late swap versatility. Jalen Green as well kind of falls in that bucket, but talk to me about the rest of point guard.
Yeah, I love Kevin Porter Jr. And from now on, we're calling you the Jalen Green whisperer because his big game, you were all over him.
Yeah, and I haven't played him since too. I feel like maybe sometimes I know stuff. What I do, Jordan Klein. What?
The whisperer. Give me Kevin Porter Jr. at 6K all day. This was a guy who was almost 8K to start the year. He got hurt in his last game. He played, 18 and a half minutes, but we've seen the per minute production from this guy. It hasn't quite been there yet this year. But I feel pretty good that it's coming eventually. The usage rate has been solid. He can do all the peripheral things. I think 6K is a very appealing price tag for him. And then you look at the boom bust tool and he's popping hard. We're giving him an optimal lineup percentage of almost 27% and his ownership is down near 10%. So that to me looks like a smash.
That definitely does look like a smash. We got to talk about some of these other options just because this is only a 4-game slate. I don't want to talk about a lot of people underneath it, but we probably need to. Anthony Simons is a guy that you could punt with. Killian Hayes is a guy you could punt with. Patrick Mills is somebody you can punt with. But all of them are gaining a lot less popularity. And the main reason I would want to play them over this other guy is because they're not popular. George Hill getting a bunch of rostership, 4K on DK. Where are you landing on him specifically at 20%?
I'm going to have George Hill. I'm not going to feel good about it, but George Hill is just playing too many minutes right now. He was at like over 30 a game with Chris Middleton in the lineup. I don't think that changes. So I'm going to have Hill exposure, but I'm not going crazy. I will be sprinkling in some Killian Hayes in particular. He is somebody that, again, is not popping in our models, not popping in our projections.
Nope.
But somebody's going to have to do stuff for Detroit tonight. Josh Jackson, we kind of led the show with him. He's the leading candidate, but it could be Killian Hayes. He's flashed a ceiling of 27 DraftKings points this season. So I think Killian Hayes is the more interesting pivot for me when I'm looking at this, George Hill range.
I have 30% Killian Hayes. So yeah. I'm taking a pretty large overweight stance to him. You have no Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, not the best debut, not the worst. He's going to be just fine. 19 minutes, didn't really get in the game flow there, had a zillion rebounds in the first corner, and that was kind of his entire fantasy outlook there. But taking him off the floor here, I think Killian Hayes is probably the guy who I'm surprised he's not getting more traction just because we have recently seen that upside. And, I think just kind of waiting, getting that little extra half hour in the event that you do get the news. I doubt it's going to be within that half hour, but I do have some versatility with him at 4,300 to kind of swap off of it if I need to, but 4,300 for him. I just think that Josh Jackson is, as good of a play as he's projecting out to be. He goes for 31.75 DraftKings points in just 23 minutes, but hasn't had a crazy amount of usage, hasn't exceeded a 21% usage now in his last 4 outings here. He had 2 starts among them. I got to be thinking with Jeremy Grant out there. Kelly Olynyk starting to emerge a little bit here now. And we all knew that Kelly Olynyk could perform, but it was a matter of minutes, and now he's getting minutes. I just don't know if Josh Jackson is like the play you absolutely need to have on this slate. Now, it's a 4-game slate. He's one of the top 2 or 3 pieces of value, and I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that I think that it's a little bit more volatile than what we're probably accounting for in terms of what his rostership will be on this slate.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much you think he gets to, right? Like we have him around 31% right now. Mm-hmm. At that number, I'm fine being overweight. Like I think that what we saw out of him last year, like when he's on the floor, he can be a point per minute type of guy. So he doesn't need that much playing time to pay off a pretty minimal salary here. I like Jackson quite a bit, but if you're telling me that his ownership is going to creep up to closer to like 50% on a small slate, then I think we can start talking about, him being overowned. But as things stand now, I will be overweight on Josh Jackson.
Why are people putting MPJ in the chat? It's Kevin Porter Jr. So it's KPJ would be the right one. So just to keep everything in line here, so I don't get confused, but anything else for you from the point guard position? Anybody else we didn't touch on that you're still getting to?
I mean, if you want to get weird with Detroit, you could throw some Corey Joseph in there too. I have some Corey Joseph after his game last night. He had about 26 DraftKings points in roughly 26 minutes. I feel better about Hayes for sure, mm-hmm. But if you want to sort of split the difference between those 2 players, I'd be okay with that.
All right. We normally lump the guards and then the forwards and then we go centers. I'm just we got a little bit more time. It's 4 games. So I thought we'd go to the point guard spot first. Next over on to shooting guard, we're going to Donovan Mitchell, CJ McCollum, somebody that I've just been higher on, I think, than the field most of the times out here. Jalen Green as well. Over on our sponsor, Yahoo, $24, Jordan Clarkson, $19, Josh Jackson, $15 is going to be by far the most popular play down there. But, we talked a little bit about him. The other piece of chalk at shooting guard is Bruce Brown. Where are you falling with the shooting guard position?
Yeah, Bruce is interesting. The minutes weren't great in his last game, but again, another guy that we've kind of seen, he can be a point per minute type of dude. So I like Bruce Brown. The question is, like, you've got Bruce Brown, you've got Pat Connaughton, you've got Josh Jackson all in this same sort of sandwich of price range. So I'll be interested, and you can even throw Grayson Allen in there too. Yeah. I'll be interested to see how the ownership shakes out between those 4 players. I think that I would have Brown 4th out of those 4 guys. So not my favorite value play on the slate. But again, if that means that Brown is going to carry like no ownership, then I would be maybe increasing my interest in him, but it doesn't look like that's the case.
It's going to take a while for people to kind of see what's going on with Bruce Brown Jr. So with James Harden on the floor here now, the last 2 games, 12 and 11.6% usage. You put him into that starting lineup, you're splitting a floor with Kevin Durant and James Harden. Sorry, you're not going to see the ball a whole lot. So I'm kind of accounting for that a little bit more. 4,500. It's a great tag to be paying for him on this slate specifically, but I do prefer going to that Milwaukee value. I think I'm with you as well, where I think he falls 4th in the totem pole. We had talked about him a lot on Friday on that slate, and he came around like 40% ownership. And Greg and I were breaking that down where it's like, we wanted no part of that kind of a number, especially with a lot of late news that of course went against us, but such is life. You play it out 100 times in your head and you just kind of live with the results, however it ends up panning out. So kind of making our way down, we see Grayson Allen. That's kind of the guy that you were pointing to. I mean, we got to have the conversation about him too. How much are you getting to on this slate?
Yeah, I have a lot of Grayson. I think, like Jordan Nwora is kind of the de facto value piece for Milwaukee, but I think I like Grayson a little bit more. His role just seems a little bit safer. We know what he's going to do. He's going to be out there to provide spacing. If he knocks down shots, he has big ceiling at this number, and I feel pretty comfortable with his price tag. So yeah, I like Grayson Allen a lot. You could throw Pat Connaughton in that. Like, I think that they're very similar players in their role with the team. Allen maybe a little bit more offensive minded, Connaughton maybe a little bit production, specifically like in terms of rebounds. But yeah, like if you're looking for ways to not have all the Jordan Nwora, then these are your guys.
Yeah. But I'm looking to have all the Jordan Nwora, and we'll get to that in a second, because I really don't know. And I've said this, I think 4 or 5 times with Jordan Nwora, and he keeps failing, but I don't know how he fails in this spot. So I'm just having a bias here, and I'm just going to kind of live with the result of it. But such is NBA DFS. You got to make some stands. Making our way to the rest of the shooting guard position here. Is there anybody not catching a bunch of rostership? I guess Pat Connaughton is in that boat too as well. Or I just don't know how you get away from playing a guy who's going to play 34 minutes at 4,400 on this slate. I'd much rather do that than Bruce Brown, where I think those minutes can be a little bit more volatile, and I don't think there's as much of a path. I mean, it's just really hard to get away from Milwaukee value is kind of the moral of the story.
Yeah, I think if I was going to pivot away, it might be to a guy like Eric Gordon.
Okay.
I like his ceiling a little bit better than a guy like Bruce Brown, and we're not paying that much more for him. His minutes are not nearly as strong. He's probably going to play, 25, 26 minutes, something like that. But you know that when he's on the court, he's going to be out there chucking, because that's what Eric Gordon does, and we love him for it. So that gives him an upside of, 30 plus DraftKings points. And I think that also fits sort of your late swap narrative. If you want to give yourself as many outs as possible as far as pivots, depending on the LeBron James news, then Gordon fits that description as well.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of going to do it for me from shooting guard. It just gets really, really ugly. And Eric Gordon, I like boosting him. I talked about boosting Houston players to have some versatility in Lakers lineups, to be able to kind of move around with that last game. It's 3 hours afterwards. I'm going to be out and about living my life, but I still will be late swapping. And I think you should be too. Stay pinned to the premium Discord chat. We've got Loco in the chat. He's constantly keeping you guys apprised of any breaking news, throwing that into the NBA breaking news channel over there as well. You need to be having notifications set up there. And again, how do you get there? You get there by joining Awesemo Plus. And right now, for a weekly pass, $29.95 gets you everything behind the paywall, every single sport, but specifically for NBA, player projections, ownership projections, premium Discord chat, the lineup builder, so many things that you just can't find anywhere else. The whole enchilada. Use the promo code NBA Live Before Lock, all caps, one word, NBA Live Before Lock, for 25% off your Awesemo Plus first month. And if you're just looking to play NBA DFS, you have the weekly package for $16.95. That's a great option. $4.95 for the NBA Weekly Express package. The best data and tools that are getting updated constantly. The NBA Boom Bust tool that we refer to constantly because they are that good. Even a doofus like me can win NBA DFS because I understand how to read boom bust and I understand how to read ownership up against optimal percentage. Those are two things that just matter for tournaments. And constantly being updated. We've got guys behind the scenes around the clock throughout the entire night as the games are going on, updating that stuff. You're not going to find a better place to be for NBA season. So stop guessing, start winning, and come join us at Awesemo Plus. It's nice here. The water's warm. All right, let's get ourselves to the forward position here. I'm looking over at FanDuel too, because FanDuel needs love too. No discrimination here, Squirrel. We've got Giannis Antetokounmpo sitting there in the top end. And then my boy Jordan Nwora coming in with massive ownership on both of those. I don't care. I'm going to be over the field on both. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis is just an impossible fade for me. You can talk yourself into a Nwora fade or being underweight on Nwora. I would never full fade Nwora in this spot. But I think my goal is to play Nwora sort of even to the field, but I will be massively overweight on Giannis. He is just the best fantasy basketball player in the league. He's bumped his usage rate and his fantasy scoring in, granted limited minutes without Chris Middleton this season, 1.63 DraftKings points per minute. It's a tough matchup against Utah, but I really don't care. There's no such thing as a tough matchup for Giannis. He's the top stud on the slate. I mean, on DraftKings, it's ridiculous that why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden? The Dallas guy.
Which guy?
Luka Doncic.
Luka
Doncic is more expensive on the all day slate.
Mm-hmm.
I know we don't really talk about the all day slate, but that's ridiculous to me. So,
are you grinding all day slate NBA on an NFL Sunday?
No, what I'm grinding.
Oh, Jesus. I was about to say you're my new favorite person, but never mind. Keep going.
What I'm grinding is my NBA Big Board article. And that includes some of the early players. So that happened to catch my eye.
I had Larry C in the chat. The reason that I got distracted is he asked, stupid question. This is not a stupid question. This is an important question. He says, when you say boost, are you talking thumbs up on FC? Yes and no. So you can hit the thumbs up on FC, but I'm talking about the auto group creator that you have. So you can basically make a key player in the group section of Fantasy Cruncher. So I do this a lot for centers where I just want to have any center that's projected for any amount of run. You can put in their fantasy projections. So, any player that's irrelevant, that's going to be 10 points or less, you don't necessarily have to account for it. But you can say when this key player is entered, you can basically give players a boost of 10%, 20%, 30%, depending on what you really want to get other players from the game. So for me, when I have a key player like LeBron James in, I'm boosting Houston. I'm boosting Lakers players around them. So if LeBron James appears in a lineup, he's probably going to appear with more of that game than normal. But I don't want to just have a rule saying I want to get to 2 of this because I still want to sprinkle in the early games. So it's a little bit more efficient way of giving them a boost and having the ability to have every other game not be completely disregarded just by having 5 lineups there on the back end. So that's the way that I utilize it. Do you do anything similar, Mr. LaMarca?
I'm a little bit more like OCD about lineup building. So I'll determine how many lineups I want with like that core of Lakers Rockets guys, and I'll just build those out separately. I'll build my lineups in chunks.
Oh, I like that too. I think that that's a great way to do it. And I do that for NFL sometimes too, where I want to just group and see the way that my run backs are coming. Like a team like Houston today, I hated running it back with a lot of Houston Texans that weren't Brandon Cooks, but I wanted to have a little Brandon Cooks. Didn't probably have enough, but it was still the opportunity to crunch with that. And then you do another set of lineups where you crunch where you don't have the run backs and kind of combine. You can group them and take like your top 150 and play it that way. So it's an organizational thing. And we have 2 different ways of going about it, but I think both are correct because they tend to work over a long period of time. That's all.
Love it. Love a little peek behind the curtain right there.
How about that? Larry C., you're welcome. I do the group. Yes. So the boost, it's great for NFL. I think that's the one people are most familiar with because the key player can be the quarterback and you can build around them. In NBA, I love doing it for centers because they generally are not sharing the floor. They're going to be the most negatively correlated plays. If one gets in foul trouble, you generally know the other is going to come in and substitute for them. And so it just gets to be a little bit more specific. It for me works out a little bit better. So try it out. Let me know how it goes for you. And if you ever need any help, hop over to the premium Discord. I'm happy to help you there. All right, let's get to the rest of this forward position. We have half an hour here before lock, so plenty of time to get your lineups in here. We've got Gordon Hayward, who is now up to 7,200. That tag's starting to climb up. Don't love that. Miles Bridges completely out of here. I don't know how you get to any of these Charlotte players to the number that we have, 17% and 13.5% for those 2, considering you're getting Rozier in. Do you?
I still have some Hayward tonight.
Okay.
He's just you even if you bump him down to like 34 minutes, I still think he can pay off this price tag. I think he can get us, 35, 40 in a nice game environment against Portland. So I do have some of him. I'm more like less interested in the real top of this position. Like I have very little Durant and I have no LeBron at the moment. So for me, it's Giannis, a little bit of Hayward, and then just lots of value plays.
Yep. I think that's exactly how I'm doing it too. We got a super chat from Tony. He said, Jordan Nwora, does he cover his salary today? Jesus criminy, I freaking hope so. Otherwise, I will not win money. That's the best way of putting that. How about yourself, Matt LaMarca?
I think he gets there. I don't know if he does the 7-8x type thing. Asking him to hit 5X, I think, is very reasonable. But Nwora has kind of not been that same guy from the first night of the year when everybody on the Bucks was just going off against the Nets. So I'm spreading my Milwaukee exposure a little bit. I'm not loading up on any one particular player. I want to kind of cover as many bases as I can there. But yeah, if you're asking me, can Nwora get 5-6X value? Yes, I think he does.
I think he does too, because otherwise I would probably not be good at this. Hey, Charles, another super chat. We're just getting them left and right here. Hey guys, doing a showdown for the Bucks game. We have not looked at showdown, I can promise you that. But who do you think will get minutes now because of the injuries? Is Mamu a good 1K value play? I think you could probably make a case that you could run into some crazy different game scripts here. I mean, Giannis out there definitely helps. He's by far my favorite captain play. I think there's enough value like Nwora. You probably don't need in a captain spot. I think a lot of NBA DFS for me is jamming in a lot of the top projected players and then building around them. And if you need that savings to get down to Mamu, I'm just fine with that. Have you looked at Showdown at all?
I'm giving it a quick glance over now.
Okay.
I think I prefer Thanasis at 2,200 as opposed to Mamu at 1, but I'm with you. Stars and scrubs. Like, I need Giannis in this lineup. So if that's what it takes to get Giannis in, so be it.
Yeah. Somebody said Mamu in the G League. I think he's on a 2-way. I think he goes back and forth. So I don't think that's relevant. We have a projection in for him. So I'm going to assume that he's in. I didn't see anything to the contrary. But yes, best of luck to you there. Let's go to the rest of this forward position here, because there's a guy in Daniel Tice that you can play over on DK, and he's actually our top value play right now, projected for just over 6X here at 4K. You got to see him starting. They've had some back and forth there, but every single game he started this season that he's appeared. So I don't think there's any concern there. He just never seems to get a ton of minutes, but 0.73 DraftKings points per minute producer isn't going to entice you either, but you can easily make that somebody else named Ken Bazemore in the event that you get LeBron out. So I like getting to Daniel Tice in that regard. It doesn't mean I like Daniel Tice as a play. What are you doing with him?
I'm going to be underweight on Tice. There's just no upside there, in my opinion. We saw him have a game a few nights ago against Dallas. He was drilling 3-pointers. It was a weird one-off type night. That's not really Daniel Tice. So I think in this game against, a big Lakers front court, the minutes will be there, but I don't see the per minute production. So I think that there are some pivots that I like better, who maybe have, that aren't popping as quite the same value, but I think have a little bit more upside. Okay.
And who would those be, perchance?
Well, outside of the Milwaukee dudes, you've got Jayshawn Tate. I'd rather play him. Now, granted, on my last show I went on, I hyped up Jayshawn Tate, and he just absolutely flopped. He played 15 minutes, but he had a 35% usage rate. I did not have that on my Jayshawn.
Well, he got in foul trouble early, and then it was a blowout, and he just didn't come back in. I think he had like 3 fouls in the first half.
But I like his upside a little bit more. We're paying a little bit more, but I don't think it's a huge difference. Olynyk at 5,400, certainly don't have to worry about his upside. The guy can do 40 plus in his sleep. Robert Covington at 4,400, I think is viable. And if you want to go cheaper, I brought him up on the showdown slate, but Thanasis at 3,200. I think Thanasis might be in play here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Thanasis is actually pretty sneaky. So we've seen him start twice in the last 3 games here. And in those two, 19 and 18 against Minnesota, where he didn't, only 8 minutes. So I think as long as you get him in the starting lineup here, which I don't believe we have here yet. I saw the Blazers one came through and I saw the Hornets one came through, but I got to wait and just make sure that he's starting. As long as he is, I think he gets 20 minutes. And I think that that's more than enough. I mean, Middleton was active in both those games as well. So that's the other part that we have to account for, is that there's maybe a 24, 25 minute upside. And that makes Thanasis look like a completely different play. And nobody's going there. He's 10%, which on a 4-game slate like this, I'm happy to get a little bit over the field there too. So I'm not going to go nuts with him, but I think 20, 25% in an allotment of a 20 max or a 150 max, I think that that's a nice number. So I like that call a lot by you. Jeremy Grant, anybody else that you really want to touch on here at forward?
Yeah, Grant seems underpriced. He's I like that you brought him up there. He's somebody that I have sort of in that same mold of a Gordon Hayward, right? But Grant is a little bit cheaper. And unlike Hayward, who's getting a teammate back in the lineup, Grant is losing a teammate. So he definitely grades out as the superior value. He's somebody that I am definitely like every time I rerun my lineups, I add a little bit more Jeremy Grant in.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's a great play. I'm just kind of going through and building some of my stuff out here as we're going here. We got 24 minutes before lock, so plenty of time. I think Jeremy Grant is definitely a guy that you should be looking at getting to a little bit more of. And I got to say, somebody that can be sneaky in some of these spots is Isaiah Stewart, and I don't like it as much, but 5,200 on FanDuel. I mean, he just, even last year, he just never was priced appropriate to his situation. And we know that he can be a really good fantasy point per minute producer, just over 1 point on, he's exactly 1.04 on FanDuel over the course of the last calendar year. I think that that's good enough at 5,200 to garner some attention. And at 10%, I'm happy to get a little bit over on that too.
Yeah, that's fair. Stewart's probably like my least favorite of the Detroit front court guys. You know?
So you're like, that's fair, but he's a shitty play.
No. He's a perfectly acceptable play on FanDuel at 5,200. Yeah. I like Olynyk and I like Josh Jackson better.
Okay. That's fair.
Jeremy.
Hey, asking you shall receive. How about that? Bucks starting lineup on cue for us. Hill, Allen, Connaughton, Thanasis, and Giannis. So that's nice. I'm going to up a little bit Thanasis here as well. Just wanted to get the confirmation. I assumed he was going to be starting in this spot. Just still good to get that verified. 3,200 on DK. That's really where I want to kind of be firing him up the most. And then looking at him over on FanDuel, 3,800. I mean, if you need the savings, sweet. I don't need them as much over there. So a little bit more of a middling play for me there, but he can get some stocks. He can get some of that upside going. So 20, I mean, I already had him for 18 minutes. I'm going to bump it up to like 22 here. Again, we haven't seen this situation with Middleton out here this season where he's been in the starting rotation. So I think that there could be more of a minute ceiling there. And, you know, if this game stays remotely close, all those starters, I think are going to be more than in play. They're the best values on the slate. So anything to react to that starting lineup?
I mean, if you're not building at least a couple Antetokounmpo stacks, you're doing DFS wrong. Like you just have to have at least a few.
Yeah. He's too cheap. He's starting and, you know, it's a guy 0.8 FanDuel fantasy points per minute. So, I mean, it's not irrational, but I mean, there could be a minutes upside there. And also think about the opposition here in this spot. You're going to have Royce O'Neal. You're going to have, you're going to have Rudy Gobert, obviously out there on the floor and, you know, him and Giannis matching up a little bit. It's going to be a spot where there could be some sneaky upsides. So I'm really on board with that call by you. I think that he's going to be a nice part of the portfolio here. Jae'Sean Tate, I like again, just because he's going to be another piece of late slate play. So I'm probably higher on him than I guess you're still there on Jae'Sean Tate. Is that the right way of saying it?
Yes. I've cooled my exposure a little bit because again, I got burnt so badly at 4,800, but I thought 4,800 against the Jazz was a good price tag. So I'm clearly interested in 4,700 versus the Lakers. All
right. Well, that's probably the right way of putting it here. Anything else at forward for you? I guess we had a couple of people that were asking questions about Rodney Hood. Is Rodney Hood is a thing today? Rodney Hood's not a thing.
He does play for the Bucks. He's not a piece of the Bucks that I've gotten to on this slate. So he's probably just about the only one, him and Mamu. Hood can do some stuff, right? I used to be a Rodney Hood.
Stuff back in Duke, back at college.
I used to be a Rodney Hood truther, if we're going full disclosure here. But I've gotten the proper support for that, and I don't think I'm playing Rodney Hood tonight.
It was a long road to recovery, but you got there, and we're proud of you.
Thank you.
I got nothing else here at forward. I think that kind of those are the most important plays here on the slate. You can always make a case for a lot of these guys on the bottom end. I'm going to check over at the Boom Bust tool here as well before we talk a little bit of Yahoo here. But Christian Wood, you can play him at center. He's more of a center discussion piece. He's power forward eligible over on FanDuel. Play Christian Wood. How about that for analysis? Robert Covington, What are you doing with him considering 4,400? He's getting actually a little bit more optimal percentage. He is positively leveraged in the boom bust tool. I don't like playing Robert Covington. He's not enjoyable to roster. He usually screws you over, but hey, positive leverage is positive leverage.
Yeah, and he's coming off a season high in minutes. You know, Portland has had just like a super weird start to their year. They have played in virtually no competitive games, right? They lost a close one to the Kings in their first matchup. Then their next three were all decided by 20 plus points. And then their last game was 19 to the Clippers. So like, it's hard to get a feel for what their rotation is. But I do think that Covington is a big part of it. And Covington has that weird ceiling where he can pop off from game to game. So he's always a better play on FanDuel because you're getting those, extra point for the defensive stuff that he does. But I will definitely have Covington at his current price tag. Like 4,400 is probably too cheap if we think that this guy is going to play around 30 minutes.
I have to agree. He's the last guy to really bring up. I didn't want to. He's not fun. He's just not fun because I just have had too many nights where you say Robert Covington cannot fail in this spot. And then sure enough, he sits in the corner and he does nothing. And it's really not fun. So that is going to do it for the forward position. Let's talk a little Yahoo here, a little intersection here. Everybody start getting your lineups uploaded a little bit here, 19 minutes. Hopefully we get a little bit of news, something regarding, oh shit, New England just, is that a pick six? Yeah, there you go. Cool. That's not ideal, but actually, no, it might be good for my Herbert exposure for them to go down here. Either way, back to Yahoo here. We've got some of the best contests in the industry over at Yahoo. You're going to have, the 20K up top here for Sunday night for the football, and then Yahoo NBA contests right around a 12% management fee for pretty much all of them for like the $15, the $10. You're not going to find better contests for your bankroll than those every single time out. And we're incentivizing you guys to go over and join. If you're a new user, head over there, make an account, put $10 or more into it, enter any paid contest, and you will get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum completely free to you. Every single thing we offer behind the paywall. Again, as good as that NBA Live Before Lock promotion is, this is even better. You get everything behind the paywall for a whole month, not just 1 week discounted, but a whole month just by going over and signing up. There's no better place to be invested and go play in right now than Yahoo. Take advantage of that promotion, and thank you so much to them for their sponsorship. Looking forward to talking about their products constantly because they're some of the best products we have in the industry. So I really don't know what else to say. If you like money, play at Yahoo. End of story. Let's get ourselves to the center position and kind of round out talking about this. We'll be able to talk a little bit of strategies. We kind of finalize our lineups. I'm kind of getting that done here myself, but at the center position over on DraftKings here, on the top end, Giannis Antetokounmpo is eligible there. Anthony Davis. Let's talk a little bit of these Lakers studs on the top end. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. How much are you getting to of Anthony Davis compared to them?
Not much. Davis has not, right? He's had 2 games this year, really. 2 good games, both without LeBron James. Opening night, he was fine too, but I think he's overpriced at 9,600, right? Like that's kind of what he was priced at last year. And it just hasn't really been adjusted to reflect his lower ceiling. So I do not have very much Anthony Davis. But that does leave me, a bit vulnerable in the event that LeBron gets ruled out. I'm kind of like Chat. My lane is that he plays because I don't know. Why would he come back and play 1 game and then go back out? But you never know, right? Trying to predict stuff like that can be a fool's errand. So maybe I do need to build in a few more sort of like if lineups with LeBron, if LeBron is ruled out, but Davis is not somebody I have very much exposure to at the moment.
All right. We got an ownership update here. I'm going to refresh everything. Look at that. Larry C is telling me what's going on. We have people in the chat, good people like that, constantly kind of updating everything here. Let's see. Anthony Davis right around 20%. Nothing's really changed there for him. I think that's about appropriate where he should be. Giannis is the absolute smash of smashes, even against Utah. I don't see any way getting away from Giannis here at the center position where you can now play. You could always play him over on DK, I suppose, but at the forward or small forward position on FanDuel, he's kind of the guy to go to. Christian Wood, I'm in love with him today. Is there any way that you could talk me off of Christian Wood? Are you there too?
No, I like Christian Wood a lot. I think that this price range is actually pretty interesting, right? Because Rudy Gobert has been really good to start the year quietly. He's averaging like 19 rebounds a game. Then you've got Christian Wood, who has had some huge performances this season. And Yusuf Nurkic, again, is somebody that I think is an interesting buy low target, given just how many blowouts Portland has played in. Like, it's kept Nurkic's minutes down. He's never going to be a guy that plays 30, but he can play more than 22, 23, which is what we've been seeing from him recently. So I think all three of those guys I'm going to have plenty of tonight, but Wood is my favorite. He's a very skilled player. He can contribute on both ends, and he seems underpriced at 8,100.
I agree. No way around it. I like Gobert too. So, I mean, Gobert looks really, really nice as well. He's always been good, but now from a fantasy perspective as well, getting to 32 minutes, he doesn't need usage, just gets doubles routinely. He adds counting stats, having his stock or 4 stocks last game out, 3 blocks and a steal. The guy is going to continue to fill it up here constantly. Led every lineup basically that led in defensive efficiency was behind Rudy Gobert last season. It's just ridiculous the kind of stuff he's able to do in the regular season. I think he's going to be great in the postseason as well. And the Clippers were just maybe the most nightmarish matchup he could have possibly ran into, especially with how hot they shot the ball. So I have no concerns about Rudy Gobert. Ever fire him up here in this spot. And Nurkic, he's definitely a buy low candidate. We saw where he got up to 45.75 in 23 minutes. 33% usage. I don't expect that again, but I do expect the minutes to kind of trend up. So you can kind of tick for tack that a little bit. So I'm getting to 15%, just tiny bit over the field. And I like sitting at that number. Making our way to the rest of the position, Mason Plumlee, the price has now kind of corrected itself a little bit. I mean, 6,100 is still a little bit advantageous over on DraftKings, but I just don't really want to play him on this slate. Don't really want to be landing in the 6K range very often. Do you have any interest in him?
No.
Cool. Great talk.
He's pretty much a scratch off at over 6K. Maybe that's sticker shock, but I'm not paying 6K plus for Mason Plumlee.
Pour one out for Gainwell. Well, you could have not played Gainwell. That would be the other opportunity for that. Just don't play a pass receiving touchdown thinking he's going to be a bell cow, but 70% of the field did it. So there's that. Not like I rostered James Robinson. That went way worse. He was more expensive. So cool. I hate injuries so much. Here we go. Rest of the position here. We've got Isaiah Stewart down there at center. Don't really want to get there at DK. Dwight Howard popped up as questionable. I got to say that makes a little bit of DeAndre Jordan a little bit appealing at 3,200 on DK. Do you have any kind of feel for what Dwight Howard might do in this spot, if you might sit or not?
No, I have no feel on Dwight Howard. And I think nobody has a feel on what Dwight Howard is going to do on a day-to-day.
There's a joke there somewhere, and we're not even going to go there. That's Dwight Howard.
When you brought up DeAndre Jordan, I immediately wanted to push back, but he's been okay, right? He's been okay for the amount of minutes that he's been playing. So if you think that he can see a few extra minutes with Howard out at 3,200, that could be I guess I'm warming up to it a little bit.
I have 25% right now of DeAndre Jordan. So that
might be too much.
You have to understand what I'm doing is I'm also just setting you up a little bit for some of these things where it's like, oh, well, I want to see your opinion of it. I don't know if he's going to be in or out. All I know is that it's a 3,200 center that we project for 12 minutes that I would automatically project for 20 minutes. That gives me a completely different path to lineups. So Dwight Howard, I don't know what to make of this entire situation. I just know that he popped up late as questionable. And usually when somebody pops up late as questionable, they're out. Good point. I'm going to be citing a little bit more in that direction. I think DeAndre Jordan is probably one of the sneakier pieces of value. Right now we have him projected for 3.4%. I have 25% of this cat right now. And I don't think that I wouldn't project him for over 20 fantasy points, even if he got 18 minutes, but I just know that there's really nobody else that's going to be playing a lot of those center minutes. I mean, AD, they can play at the 5. Obviously, they choose to do that a lot in closing lineups, especially where they just take Dwight and DeAndre off the floor. They did that against the Spurs. They did it against OKC. I expect that they would probably do it in this spot, but I think the first and second rotations might be a little bit extended for DeAndre in this spot. So I really like getting there. Oh, and look at this. Jordan Klein popping up some of our free content we have going. The NFL top stacks, that's going to be done here now. NBA player rankings is listed there. So you can kind of see who some of the top values are here on the board, who's projecting out really well. I love seeing an A and an A next to Christian Wood. That makes me feel not like a dunce. I don't want to feel like a dunce. I want to be good at this. And, please let me win money because James Robinson's ankle really hurt. That's kind of my center position stand, is taking some shots on him at cheap and then playing a lot of Christian Wood. But we'll have a lot of news that's still coming for that late night hammer. Of course, LeBron, just be waiting on it and we will react to it if it pops up here. But is there anything else for you at the center position?
I had some Cody Zeller at 3,700 on DraftKings. He's kind of the other center in Portland. He's been getting around 20 minutes a night, but the more you sell me on DeAndre Jordan, I think I may just kind of make a little swapperooski on them, or at least try to even out the exposure. But I do like Zeller for what it's worth, right? He's coming off 25 DraftKings points or approximately in his last game. And it is a revenge spot.
Oh, I mean, just all in with the revenge, right? He's got revenge classic in his heart and his spot. Oh, just classic. Yeah. There's nothing better than, Cody Zeller revenge. That's the nicest type of revenge. I feel like he's a very nice person. Those Indiana Hoosiers, it was, hey,
I went there for a year.
Oh, you did. Yeah. I don't want to put it. Were you there with Cody Zeller?
No. Okay. Me and Eric Gordon both did the same year at Indiana.
Oh man, that's pretty great. Those were fun games. Those Eric Gordon. I mean, that was a ridiculous basketball
game. Yeah, they were ranked number one in the country.
They were number one point. Was that the one where they had the shot? Who did they beat? Was that Illinois? Who did they beat number one in the country? The shot that he hit from the top of the key. Was that? I think that was Eric Gordon, wasn't it? Might have been Oladipo. I might have been confused here at the moment. You know what? This is enthralling television here for everybody. You're welcome. All right, let's start getting lineups in. We've got 8 minutes. I want to give him the opportunity to start clicking some of those lineups in. We have our Hall of Fame here too. Do we want to do Hall of Fame? We don't want to do Hall of Fame. There's really no point in doing Hall of Fame. I love the Hall of Fame. It's fantastic. Just simply go at Awesemo HOF with your wins. I mean, basically our entire catalog has been like this Jordan fellow who just keeps winning everything. I think you gave us like $350 of super chats today. It was just an outrageous W. So let's get to a little bit of questions. Ooh, I see this one first. Favorite Yahoo play for their salary? So nice of you to ask such a beautiful question here. Grayson Allen's $11. That was a guy at shooting guard. So shooting guard, you have Josh Jackson as well at $15. I think I'm going to get to a lot of those too as I finish out my Yahoo lineups in the next 7 minutes. So I think that those both stand out as just phenomenal value pieces, and you should get to a lot of them. But really the talk of the entire position is Jordan Nwora. He's $11. He's the best value on Yahoo. Play him everywhere. Enjoy money. I think that's going to be the best. Again, how can Jordan Nwora fail? How could he possibly fail in this spot? You can't.
I'm going to throw out Gordon Hayward. We kind of talked about him on DraftKings FanDuel and how his price has gone up, and that kind of takes away some of the appeal now that Rozier's coming back. His price is not budged on Yahoo, right? He was 26 last game. He was 26 2 games ago, and he's 26 now. So yeah. I think Hayward is pretty appealing at only $26.
All right. Well, I'm going to start getting my lineups in here too. We're going to crunch this out. That will make me feel a lot more comfortable. Ooh, and we got 2 back-to-back, Canadian money as well. That's lovely. We've got Soul Dope 1234. Good people always asking questions in the chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. He asked on FanDuel, Nwora, Grant, Wood versus Durant, Thanasis, Olynyk. I like the Nwora, Grant, Wood a lot. And I also like Durant, Thanasis, Olynyk, but I don't really like Durant as much. So give me the first one.
I think the first one is really strong, but the first one is also going to be much chalkier. So if you need kind of some weird low ownership combinations to finish out a lineup, I might consider number 2, but number 1 would be the better one in a vacuum for me.
I agree here as well. All right, 5 minutes left to go. And then the Canadian Charles. Hello from Canada. He says, hi. Same showdown game, Nwora or Connaughton? I did not see. Do you still have the showdown prices up on your end?
I do have Showdown up.
Okay.
Nwora is 52 and Connaughton is 48.
Okay.
So I think Nwora is the better player of the two. I will pay the extra 400 for him. He's been the better per minute producer this season. So I would go with Nwora. I know you are going to go with Nwora.
I'm definitely going to go with Nwora. There's really no way around it. I just wanted to see what the numbers were, see if they were like miles apart. They're not miles apart. I like Pat Connaughton a lot as a play. I do not like him more than I like Jordan Nwora, and that it's not even remotely close. So best of luck to you in that. Aldridge, we have an Aldridge question in the chat. I don't even really know how to start talking about LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, he's part of that, retirement home power forward trio they have with him, Blake Griffin, and Millsap. But Millsap was out tonight, I want to say, right? Yes. Millsap is out for personal reasons. And Aldridge has kind of been like sneaky important to the Nets this season. So I don't hate that play. He's somebody that I don't have very much of right now, but he played 28 minutes in their last game. He had 34.5 DraftKings points. So clearly he has some upside at 4,800. I just think it kind of feels a little bit like point chasing if you're going to go back to him tonight, but he's interesting.
I got to a little bit of Blake Griffin, and I'm okay with that. I think Blake Griffin is more of where I want to be going towards. But I understand. I understand if you want to try to make LaMarcus Aldridge a thing. I think he's going to be very important for the Nets in the regular season. I think they're going to need Paul Millsap's defense compared to LaMarcus Aldridge, who, if you watch them play basketball, LaMarcus Aldridge couldn't guard you, could not guard me. So I don't want to say that, but he might be a little flat-footed. Also, the funniest running form I've ever seen in my entire life. But I love the man. He's, obviously been through a lot of stuff, and I'm cheering for him. But that is pretty much the most we're ever going to talk about LaMarcus Aldridge from here on out. Somebody said on FanDuel, Larry Nance, ? Larry Nance is on Portland. That's the extent of my knowledge, because I don't think he's in a single lineup. No,
I have no Larry Nance. Again, I do think Portland is an interesting buy low team. We haven't seen Portland really play a full close game all season, but Nance is not somebody that really stood out to me. He hasn't played more than 21 minutes yet. His biggest game came in a 30-point victory. So all the signs kind of point to Larry Nance being on the fringes of their rotation. I would take my stances with some of the other guys we mentioned.
God, I have 36% Bazemore and 24% DeAndre Jordan in 50 lineups on FanDuel. I'm already throwing up. Yeah, I saw that look, Jordan Klein. Don't try to get away with that. You're just judging me. What, DeAndre Jordan? You can't get behind a terrible basketball player alongside me? You can't do it? Okay, well, I'm going to do it, and you can all not do it, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle here. Let's see. Anybody else here? Rondo, depends on LeBron's status. Absolutely. Again, I'm going to have a lot of late swapping that I have to do. Can't wait to bring my laptop to the bar. That's going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, baby.
I'm not going to look completely stupid or anything, but also Skull, let's go. It's time. It's almost time.
Only on Halloween, right? You can show up at the bar with that outfit and a laptop.
And you know what, though? It's all good, my friend. It's all good. It's gonna be enjoyable. Can't wait for you need to all check out the NFL lineup review show with Adam and I tomorrow. It's usually good times. It might be especially good times. I'm sure Adam's probably out and about doing something with the $1 zillion that he has now won in the last week. Absolutely phenomenal. No Dak Skull. Yes. Join the Sodak Skull. We're here together. Oh, yes. Hit the like button. We got Loco out there. We got 1 minute here before lock. We're going to be a lock here before you know it. Everybody get your lineups in. But do you have any final words for the people, Mr. Matt LaMarca?
About basketball? No, but we will always remember Halloween 2021 as the day that the Mike White experience began. This generation's Tom Brady.
Man. You Jets fans are something. It's like Zach Wilson. Who is he a person? He's going to be holding water bottles for the next week and a half, right?
I mean, for sure, if they're going to tell him to take his time coming back from this injury, that's for sure.
Way to go. Josh Rosen 2.0. Zach Wilson. Is that correct?
I hope not. I mean, it was such a weird experience today because I was rooting for Mike White, but at the same time, like, him being good has to be the worst thing that's ever happened to Zach Wilson, right? Like, and it was the coaching staff had so much confidence in him. They were dialing up pass plays. Like, where has this offense been for Zach? So it's a lot of weird feelings in Jet fan land. There's always weird feelings in Jet fan land,
and in Viking land as well. Misery loves company, my friend, but at least you aren't miserable today. I'm hoping to do the same. Stick around. 15 minutes from now, we've got the Sunday night showdown. That's going to be Emac, Nick, Terry giving you all of the analysis for that Cowboys and Vikings game in case nobody knew. But he's Matt LaMarca. He's a Jets fan. I'm Eric Lindquist. Skull. Let's go.